Destination D23 brought some shocking announcements for the future of Magic Kingdom, and with it, we now have a very good look at what the next 5 years are going to look like for the world's most visited theme park. What's up YouTube? Drew here. Today I want to dive into the future of Disney's Magic Kingdom and how the new announcements from D23 line up with everything previously announced. With that being said, let's get to it. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, as everything we'll be talking about today, I'll be covering the entire development of, to the point when I was at D23, I posted over 100 tweets on Twitter in 2 days talking about all of this stuff. So subscribe so you don't miss all of my future content as I'm on the road to 100,000 subscribers. But first off, we have to talk about the most anticipated announcement I feel from this weekend, and that is Cinderella Castle going back to its roots at Magic Kingdom. Destination D23 ended with a bang during the Disney Castles panel, where Imagineer Wyatt Winter announced that Cinderella Castle will be returning to its roots with a classic new color palette. And I have to say, being there in person, the room erupted. It was very clear that everyone in the room was on board with this announcement, and in my opinion, rightfully so, though I will say, I feel like I'm in the minority liking Cinderella Castle's royal look that we got for Walt Disney World's 50th back in 2021. I loved all of those decorations for those 18 months during the 50th anniversary celebrations, and I really like the pink look and how it kind of glows under the sun at sunset. I am gonna miss these colors, but with that being said, I understand that people have a very strong attachment to how Cinderella Castle has looked, and just the fact that so many millions and millions of pictures were taken with those original classic colors, the whites, the blues, the grays, the golds. So to bring that back, I feel is a very easy win for Disney. And something that I was also thinking about is, for example, back in 2019, right before Cinderella Castle got repainted for the 50th, these blues that we saw with the original colors, they were very faded from the Florida sun. So in the months ahead, whenever Cinderella Castle gets repainted now from these pinks to its classic colors, this is the first time in a very, very long time where we're going to see Cinderella Castle in its classic look, but with the colors being very fresh and vibrant, because the entire castle is being repainted. And that's what I'm most excited for, kind of seeing the castle in its opening day form, but with some new touches like these gold colors, and Imagineering said that Imagineers are putting on the final touches. So this concept art is very much like a painting, but I think once they lock everything in and announce when all of this work's going to begin, we're going to get another look with the actual details that you can kind of zoom in and look at on a more photo type piece of concept art. So very much looking forward to this one, and again, I'll be covering all of this, so subscribe here, follow me on Twitter, I'll be breaking down all this stuff and covering it in person at Magic Kingdom whenever work begins, but as of now, we don't know when. And the other massive announcement for Magic Kingdom is that Walt Disney's Carousel of Progress is getting a massive refurbishment. The carousel is going to continue for years to come. We are getting updates to the classic scenes we have now with the family, and Walt Disney is going to appear in audio animatronics form at the very beginning of the attraction in an all-new introduction scene. And I am so excited for this. Now, I've seen some mixed thoughts with this because Carousel of Progress is a classic that Walt created. So to bring Walt back to the attraction that he created, it's going to be interesting to see how people respond to this. But personally, I'm really excited for it. And I look at this from a full circle perspective. This is something that I talked about back in July when the first Walt Disney animatronic debuted for Disneyland 70th at Disneyland Park. But without Walt Disney, you don't have animatronics. He pioneered animatronics, and he brought back his idol, Abraham Lincoln, to life in an animatronics form. So Walt Disney Imagineering now is doing a very similar thing that Walt did himself by bringing Walt back to life in the medium that he pioneered, and this one even more so because he created this attraction. So there's multiple full circle moments here, from the Carousel of Progress itself to animatronics specifically. And what I love is that Walt is going to be appearing in that classic blue coat that, if you've never seen before, there is an incredible video of Walt Disney kind of walking people through the Carousel of Progress when it was first being developed for the World's Fair, talking about this animatronic dress rehearsal. And they're bringing him to life in the same exact look. So I hope that he kind of addresses the attraction that we're about to experience, because that's exactly what he did when he was alive. And while we don't have any specifics on when Carousel of Progress is closing, when it's reopening, what the other updates are, the fact that this was announced when there's no Disney Parks panel at D23, which I'm still disappointed about. There was plenty of things they could have put into a Parks panel, in my opinion. The fact that they pulled the trigger on this announcement, and now that they're putting money into the carousel and have an opportunity to make Walt's appearance look better and really nail his look this time, I am so excited for, and I hope that transfers over to Disneyland and we kind of get version 2 quicker than we were anticipating because of this investment. I am very excited for this. Let me know in the comments what you guys think down below. And right next door to Carousel of Progress, I have to mention another thing I'm very excited for. That is Tron Lightcycle Run will undergo a temporary transformation beginning September 15th. So if you're visiting Magic Kingdom on or after September 15th for a limited time, you will get to experience an all-new version of Tron Lightcycle Run, directly inspired by Tron Ares, which releases in theaters on October 10th, with the overwhelming red color palette in this movie. And at nighttime, we are going to see the canopy appearing in bright red, the attraction sign also in bright red, and the light cycles in bright red. But that's not all. 9 Inch Nails, the band doing the music for Tron Ares, is also using music in the attraction. So it's essentially a brand new ride, just with the same track layout, pretty quickly after this coaster opened, which again, I'm very, very excited for. And like I mentioned, limited time overlay, no end date there as of now. So if you're coming to Magic Kingdom, I'm hoping through the end of the year, you'll get to experience this, but that's just speculation. All we know, September 15th is the first day to experience this new overlay. Now, we have to move over to the back of the park, talking about villains in Magic Kingdom, one of the most anticipated projects in the history of the Walt Disney Company. Diving into the new details for Magic Kingdom's Disney Villains Land, I do want to clarify here that Disney has not yet announced the name for Villains Land. So I'm going to call it Villains Land just like we called Star Wars Galaxy's Edge Star Wars Land before that name was announced. But we do not have the name for Villains Land yet. Stay tuned, that will be announced at a later date. And that's why we're seeing Disney say Disney Villains Themed Land, Villains of Magic Kingdom. They're kind of moving away from Villains Land because that's not the actual name. But what I am most excited about is the talent working on Villains Land. We got some details talking about some research trips that the Imagineers went on to Barcelona, Spain and Paris, France, which I love. But without the talent, those research trips don't mean much. But thankfully, in my opinion, there's some very solid talent working on this land, which gives me some optimism for where we are headed, even if this land doesn't open until probably fall of 2029. So first off, Andreas Deha, a legendary Disney animator and Disney legend, he worked on Disney villains like Gaston, Jafar, and Scar, and Disney officially confirmed he is a consultant on Villains Land. He said that he got a phone call, said, hey, you want to come back and help these Imagineers with the process? And his immediate answer was yes. And this is a trend that we've seen at Walt Disney Imagineering in recent months, Deha being the latest to join that list. We've seen Disney legend Joe Rohde return to Imagineering as an advisor. Most recently, we saw Jason Surrell return as an advisor. And now we are seeing a legendary Disney animator who worked on some of the most iconic Disney villains ever. And in my opinion, that's also extremely important because this is the first time Disney's really brought these villains to life in digital ways and animatronic ways with current technology, where it's going to be here for decades and millions of people are going to experience it. So who better than to bring the man himself, a Disney legend, back to consult? That is a big win for Villains Land. And on stage, we got confirmation of 2 of the lead Imagineers working on this project. Again, optimism here, in my opinion. An Imagineer that I have loved for a long time, someone who I think is a very kind, down-to-earth, chill person, is Wyatt Winter. I had the opportunity to meet Wyatt Winter last year at Magic Kingdom, right after Country Bear Musical Jamboree opened, and He was the lead producer on Frozen Ever After over at Epcot, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind also at Epcot, currently working on the Castle Paint and Big Thunder Mountain, and now we got confirmation that Wyatt is working on Villains Land, and I'm presuming he's working on Piston Peak. With how many things he's doing in Magic Kingdom, I think he's just shifted over to this park, and now he's kind of got his hands on everything as an executive producer. Wyatt's been an Imagineer for over 19 years, and I think he's got a pretty good track record. You know, Frozen Ever After, yes, it's just a reimagining of Maelstrom, but I like what they did with it. I think it turned out pretty good for the budget they were given. You know, it's not their fault that those projected animatronics don't look great today. That's a budget constraint, not necessarily a talent constraint. And I could say the same about Caroline May, the executive creative director on Villains Land. She's been an Imagineer for over 18 years. So I'm like, this woman's been here for a while for a reason. She's probably very talented. And admittedly, I don't know as much about her projects as I know Wyatt. I've never met her, never talked to her, but she worked on Marvel's global portfolio for Disney parks worldwide. And in my opinion, I'm not a massive fan of what Disney has done with Marvel, but I don't think that's necessarily a talent issue with Caroline herself. I think that's much more of a budget issue. But something I also have to mention is they're just two people out of dozens and probably hundreds, and that's where I lean into these Imagineering research trips, which I want to talk about now. I have to highlight all of these incredible Imagineers on screen right now. If you look at their project titles, that is what they are contributing to Villains Land. And I noticed Kimberly is also one of the Imagineers working on Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spins updates. So I think a lot of these people, like I mentioned, are just on Magic Kingdom right now. But I will mention later how there's 6 major projects to kind of give you guys a full recap of what's going on. But on these research trips, like I mentioned, they went to Barcelona, Spain, and Paris, France. And it seems like they really studied this Art Nouveau architecture. And what I love is that they've come up with a new term, conjured architecture, kind of how Villains Land is going to come to life when it opens in about 4 years from now, and how they're talking about these colors of the Disney villains with the colors that they appear in the movies, and combining that color with the classic architecture that will now serve as the overall design for this land, as they're kind of getting these concepts finalized, so construction begins sooner than later, as Tom Sawyer Island and the Rivers of America are about to be gone forever. They've been closed, but we're very close to seeing demolition work begin, so they can flatten that land and then begin serious construction next year in 2026. But something I also want to mention here, this is probably a way too early theory to talk about. On stage at D23, Wyatt Winter said that, in his opinion, the Horned King from the Black Cauldron is a very underrated Disney villain, which, when you have someone leading a project like this and they like a villain like that, I don't think it's a stretch to say that it's possible they want that villain on a project that they have a lot of work on. And also the fact that recently, WWNT reported Walt Disney World sent out surveys and that the Horned King was included in that survey. So a couple of recent developments where the Horned King is specifically mentioned, and again, it's way too early as Disney has not confirmed this, but my personal theory as of September 2025 is that the Horned King is going to appear in some way, shape, or form in Villains Land once it opens. So curious what you guys think about Villains Land. I think we're headed in the right direction. The talent seems to be there, but it's too early for me to say, oh yeah, this is going to be phenomenal. I think it's going to be phenomenal, but I can't say it for certain when I loved Tom Sawyer Island, I loved the Rivers of America, and you have to nail this, and we don't really have those major specifics yet, but that should be coming next year at D23 in Anaheim, August 14th through 16th, so stay tuned for that. I know it's almost a year out, but I will be covering it, and that's when we're going to get some actual meat and potatoes on Villains Land. If you're overwhelmed with the future of Magic Kingdom and just Disney parks and Disney Cruise Line as a whole, don't worry. Now that we have D23's announcements out of the way, we have a very clear picture of how everything lines up over the next 5 years, and that's what I want to talk about now. So first up, one that we've known about for a while is Big Thunder Mountain Railroad reopening probably in early 2026 with that new track, full track replacement, though it's the exact same track layout, and new magic. Looking forward to that one. We also have Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger Spin going to reopen with an all-new scene at the beginning of the attraction with Buddy the Robot, a perfect opportunity to test out these new handheld blasters, ride vehicles, and interactive targets. Then we have Carousel of Progress with Walt Disney Animatronic, and everything else being updated like we talked about today. Cinderella Castle's new color palette, and something I didn't mention is the Cars area, Piston Peak National Park. That will be in front of Villains Land, outside of Frontierland, Tiana's Bayou Adventure, Haunted Mansion, Big Thunder Mountain. That is about a 4-acre space with 2 family attractions, and I think that one's going to open probably about a year before Villains Land. So that one's also well on its way to opening, and like we just talked about, Villains Land. So 6 major projects in development just for Magic Kingdom, and that's all a part of some of the things we first heard about last year at D23, with Disney turbocharging Disney experiences, as they're calling it, with 14 new attractions, 6 new lands, the expansion of the Disney Cruise Line fleet, and Disney's $1.5 billion investment in Epic Games. And as I've said before, Epic Games, this investment, this Fortnite universe, it will change everything. Disney parks, the attractions industry, the video game industry, and I promise I'm still gonna have a big video out on that soon, so subscribe so you don't miss that one. That will be a legacy video for me as a content creator. But I truly appreciate you guys watching this video, supporting all of my coverage for D23. Again, please subscribe if you haven't already. I don't like asking for things, but I will ask you to subscribe when I know the quality of the content I'm going to deliver for years to come on here, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Threads. Wherever you want to follow me, I will deliver that content for all of you. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, what you're most looking forward to. I'm on board with all of this at this point. I just want the Liberty Bell Riverboat to be preserved. That's all I ask for. So, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all in my next video.